It's Tuesday, it's after midnight, and you are watching Abstract Passages with Ben and
Andrew.
And tonight we've got an abstract passage from Ursula Le Guin's Left Hand of Darkness. Thanks, Andrew. Since we came up out of the volcano murk, our spirit is not all spent in work and worry, and we talk again in the tent after our dinner. As I am in Kemmer, I would find it easier to ignore A's presence, but this is difficult in a two-man tent. The trouble is, of course, that he is, in his curious fashion, also in Kemmer, always in Kemmer. A strange, low-grade sort of desire it must be to be spread out over every day of the year and never to know the choice of sex. But there it is, and here am I. Tonight, my extreme physical awareness of him was rather hard to ignore. And I was too tired to divert it into untrance or any other channel of the discipline. Finally, he asked, had he offended me? I explained my silence with some embarrassment. I was afraid he would laugh at me. After all, he is no more an oddity, a sexual freak, than I am. Up here on the ice, each of us is singular, isolate. I is cut off from those like me, from my society and its rules, as he from his. There is no world full of other Gethenians here to explain and support my existence. We are equals at last, equal, alien, alone. He did not laugh, of course. Rather, he spoke with a gentleness that I did not know was in him. After a while, he too came to speak of isolation, of loneliness.
Your race is appallingly alone in this world. No other mammalian species, no ambisexual species, no animal intelligent enough to even domesticate as pets. It must color your thinking, this uniqueness. I don't mean scientific thinking only, though you are extraordinary hypothesizers. It's extraordinary that you arrived at any concept of evolution faced with that unbridgeable gap between yourselves and the lower animals. But philosophically, emotionally, it must be so solitary and so hostile a world. It must affect your entire outlook.
The Yomeshta would say that man's singularity is his divinity.
Lords of the earth, yes. Other cults on the other worlds have come to the same conclusion. They tend to be cults of dynamic, aggressive, ecology-breaking cultures. Orgorian is in the pattern in its way. At least they seem bent on pushing things around. What do the Handorata say?
Well, in the Handara, there's no theory, no dogma. Maybe they are less aware of the gap between men and beasts, but being more occupied with the likenesses, the links, the whole of which living things are a part. Tormer's lay had been all day in my mind, and I said the words. Light is the left hand of darkness, and darkness the right hand of light. Two are one, life and death, lying together like lovers in Kemmer, like hands joined together, like the end and the way. My voice shook as I said the lines, for I remembered as I said them that in the letter my brother wrote me before his death, he had quoted the same words. A brooded, and after some time he said,
You're isolated and undivided. Perhaps you're obsessed with wholeness as we are with dualism.
We're dualists too. Duality is an essential, isn't it? So long as there is myself and the other.
I and thou. Yes, it does, after all, go even wider than sex.
Tell me, how does the other sex of your race differ from yours?
Never thought of that, he said. You've never seen a woman. I saw your pictures. Oh, shit. Here, you missed the part. He looked startled.
Oh, shit. Tell me, how does the other sex of your race differ from yours? He looked startled, and in fact, my question rather startled me. Kemmer brings out these spontaneities in one. We were both self-conscious.
I never thought of that. You'd never seen a woman.
He used his Terran language word, which I knew. I saw your pictures of them. The women looked like pregnant Gethenians, but with larger breasts. Do they differ much from your sex in mind behavior? Are they like a different species?
No. Yes. No. Of course not. Not really. But the difference is very important. I suppose the most important thing, the heaviest single factor in one's life, is whether one's born male or female. In most societies, it determines one's expectations, activities, outlook, ethics, manners, almost everything. Vocabulary, semiotic usages, clothing, even food. Women tend to eat less. It's extremely hard to separate the innate differences from the learned ones. Even where women participate equally with men in society, they still, after all, do all the childbearing and most of the child rearing.
Equality is not the general rule, then. Are they mentally inferior?
I don't know. They don't often seem to turn up as mathematicians or composers of music or inventors or abstract thinkers. But it isn't that they're stupid. Physically, they're less muscular but a little more durable than men. Psychologically.
After he had stared a long time at the glowing stove, he shook his head.
Hearth. I can't tell you what women are like. I never thought about it much in the abstract, And, God, by now I've practically forgotten. I've been here 2 years. You don't know. In a sense, women are more alien to me than you are. With you, I share one sex, anyhow.
He looked away and laughed, rueful and uneasy. My own feelings were complex, and we let the matter drop. Yurny Thanern, 18 miles today, east-northeast by compass on skis. We got clear of the pressure ridges and crevasses in the first hour of pulling. Both got in harness. I ahead at first with the probe, but no more need for testing. The fern is a couple of feet thick over solid ice, and on the fern lie several inches of sound new snow from the last fall, with a good surface. Neither we nor the sledge broke through at all, and the sledge pulled so light that it was hard to believe we are still hauling about 100 pounds apiece. During the afternoon, we took turns hauling, as one can do it easily on this splendid surface. It is a pity that all the hard work uphill and over rock came while the load was heavy. Now we go light, too light. I find myself thinking about food a good deal. We eat, A says, ethereally. All day we went light and fast over the level ice plain, dead white under a gray-blue sky, unbroken except for the few black Nunatak peaks now far behind us, and a smudge of darkness, Drumner's breath, behind them. Nothing else, the veiled sun and the ice. An Orgata creation myth. The origins of this myth are prehistorical and has been recorded in many forms. This very primitive version is from a pre-Yomesh written text found in the Eisenpeth cave shrine of the Gobrin hinterlands.
In the beginning, there was nothing but ice in the sun. Over many years, the sun shining melted a great crevasse in the ice. And the sides of this crevasse were great shapes of ice, and there was no bottom to it. Drops of water melted from the ice shapes in the sides of the chasm and fell down and down. One of the ice shapes said, "I bleed." Another of the ice shapes said, "I weep." Another one said, "I sweat." The ice shapes climbed up out of the abyss and stood on the plain of ice. He that said, I bleed, he reached up into the sun and pulled out handfuls of excrement from the bowels of the sun, and with that dung he made hills and valleys of the earth. He that said, I weep, he breathed on the ice, and melting it made the seas and the rivers. He that said, I sweat, he gathered up soil and sea water, and with them made trees, plants, herbs, and grains of the field, animals, and men. The plants grew in the soil and the sea. The beasts ran on the land and swam in the sea, but the men did not wake. 39 of them there were. They slept on the ice and would not move. Then the 3 ice shapes stooped down and sat with their knees drawn up and let the sun melt them. As milk they melted, and the milk ran into the mouths of the sleepers, and the sleepers woke. That milk is drunk by the children of men alone, and without it they will not wake to life. The first to wake up was Adondaroth. So tall was he that when he stood up his head split the sky, and the snow fell down. He saw the others stirring and awakening, and was afraid of them when they moved, so he killed one after another with a blow of his fist. 36 of them he killed, but one of them, the next to last one, ran away. Haharath he was called. Far he ran over the plain of ice and over the lands of the earth. Adondaroth ran behind him and caught him at last and smote him. Haharath died. Then Adondaroth returned to the birthplace on the Gobernais where the bodies of the others lay, but the last one was gone. He had escaped while Adondaroth pursued Haharath. Adondaroth built a house of the frozen bodies of his brothers and waited there inside that house for the last one to come back. Each day one of the corpses would speak, saying, Does he burn? Does he burn? All the other corpses would say with frozen tongues, No, no. Then Adondaroth entered Kemer as he slept, and he moved and spoke aloud in dreams. And when he woke, the corpses were all saying, He burns, he burns. And then the last brother, the youngest one, heard them saying that, and he came into the house of bodies, and there coupled with Adondaroth. Of these 2 were the nations of men born, out of the flesh of Adondaroth, out of Adondaroth's womb. The name of the other, the younger brother, the father, his name is not known. Each of the children born to them had the peace of the darkness that followed him wherever he went by daylight. Adondaroth said, Why are my sons thus followed by darkness? His Chemering said, Because they were born into the house of flesh. Therefore death follows at their heels. They are in the middle of time. In the beginning there was the sun and the ice, and there was no shadow. In the end, when we are done, the sun will devour itself, and the shadow will eat light, and there will be nothing left out of the ice and the darkness.
I'm Ben, and this is
Andrew.
And we're members of the Million-Year
Picnic.
Earth's
Softest.
Sci-Fi
Book Club.
And this has been Abstract Passages with Ben.
And Andrew.
And you've been listening to The Left Hand of Darkness.